Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you were able to survive Friday the 13th. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. It is game day, folks. Indiana Fever fans, Caitlin Clark fans. It is game day, and Caitlin Clark will be playing. So I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a pregame. I know I haven't done it for every game, but obviously Caitlin Clark's been out a while. And then there was one thing specifically I kind of wanted to focus on instead of like a deep dive into the game, sort of some of the questions I have, but also, because if you recall, we kind of had similar vibes at times last year with things Christy Sides would say before. Look, all credit you. If you were here for that, you know I spent a whole lot of the season saying Christy Sides had to go for a whole number of reasons. But always trying to be fair, I would give credit where credit's due and say, hey, that second half of the season, especially post break, people made fun of her team bonding activities and so forth. But you know what? She was smart enough to recognize and egoless enough to do it. And that was to say, hey, you know what? We are best when I just give up the keys to Caitlin Clark and I let Caitlin Clark run the Caitlin Clark offense. And you know, if you have been here a while, and I know thankfully I have the right audience, many of you agree, there's definitely a split on the Stephanie White coaching thing where there's a lot of people that don't want to hear any criticism. She can do no wrong and on and on. And there are those of us that it's not that we just everything she does is wrong or we hate her. We're just being honest in our critique and criticism and looking at things like, hey, I'm not sure about this. Can she lead this team to a championship? You know what? She may very well can, but I have questions, and I think a lot of you have questions. And I did that video yesterday where again she talked about an offense that didn't seem like an offense that was going to maximize Caitlin Clark, which meant it wasn't an offense that was going to maximize the Indiana Fever. And I think we saw that in the first 4 games. We saw glimpses, right? I mean, look, when you put Caitlin Clark out there, no matter what offense you're running, you're going to get good stuff of it in good stuff out of it just in the flow of the game and her being out there. But there was way too often where she wasn't bringing it up, way too often where she was setting picks away from the ball, no intention of getting it back to her. And there was great stuff too. I did that whole video on the pick and roll with all the highlights from one game against the Liberty with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. And so, with the comments Stephanie White made yesterday about the offense and about, oh, well, you know how she makes it sound like Caitlin Clark can't be Caitlin Clark. Like she's not good enough to do what people know she can do. She calls her generational, but then basically concedes that the defense is going to stop her. So why don't we just stop her first? That's kind of what it sounds like. Like if I'm any team playing her, I love the idea of already giving up and putting Caitlin Clark off the ball because that's what we want. We want that. You're not dictating to us. You're allowing your ego as a coach to, and I'm talking about I'm the opposition is how I was wording that. You're not dictating to us anymore. You're allowing your ego to do what we want before we even forced you to do it. Thank you. God bless you. Hallelujah. Uh, and in that respect, it was interesting, especially after hearing that reinforcement yesterday, where she made those comments about Tyrese Halliburton and so forth, and again about, oh well, they're going to take away our strength, so we need to do these other things. And here was Caitlin Clark just yesterday with some interesting comments about that. And I don't know that she had heard Stephanie White talk. I like that this isn't directly a response to the coach, but considering what the coach has said, and then Caitlin said this, yeah, it's interesting.
We changed a little bit of what we did on offense when I was out, just certain actions that we had to be more intentional in just because, we didn't, for example, we didn't play out pick and roll as much because that's what I like to do. And, some of my teammates, that's not their best strength. They have other strengths, so playing to those strengths more. So just getting back into the flow of doing some of those types of things. But, I think just getting out there and just continuing to build my chemistry with my teammates and playing fast, playing up tempo, I think that's going to be the best for us.
What was your
There you go, folks. You heard it. She talked about all the things in terms of how, you hear that. And again, then I know a lot of people will bring this up, and I'm sure some of you already probably even mentioning it in the comments, just listening to that. And that is Lisa Bluter doing the smartest thing a coach could ever do. And it's just recognizing that the way you're going to compete, the way the team is going to be its best is to let Caitlin be Caitlin. And this is Caitlin, the pick and roll, the up tempo offense, the quick decisions, the ball in her hands. The ball needs to be in her hands often. And again, to cut off before people even get there, I'm not saying you never have her off the ball. I'm not saying that she brings it up and then she either shoots without any help from anyone else or she gets an assist. The ball can move, the ball can go other places, but Caitlin Clark needs to bring the ball up and make that first decision. And that first decision, maybe the pick and roll and she gives it up to Aaliyah. Maybe she gets it back. Maybe Aaliyah kicks out to Lexi or Kelsey back, backside for a wide open shot. Like, and I've said this before, so many things. All these things you want to do with an offense can all be done off of the pick and roll if the transition isn't there, right? But you need to have these teams worry about that transition. You need to have these teams worry about Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston in the pick and roll because all those other things, the reason Kelsey Mitchell had that incredibly efficient season last year was because of transition, was because of Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston and their pick and roll game. Same with Lexi Hull and her 3-point shooting and on and on and on. And so, that's kind of some of the things that I'm going to be looking for this game is like, I, in some ways, to me, I worry more about Stephanie White than I did with Christy Sides because I think we all knew early on that Caitlin Clark and being as competitive she is, I don't think she had a lot of respect for Christy Sides as a coach. And I don't mean she would actively undermine, like, because I don't like that stuff. I don't mean that she would actively undermine her or anything that like that. But I mean, when they get out on the court, Caitlin Clark's going to get the ball in her hands and she's going to go, whether Christy Sides wanted to go slow or not. And then with Stephanie White, Caitlin Clark has a lot of respect for Stephanie White. So I feel that she's less likely to do that, even if it's the right thing. Now she may get fed up at some point. Obviously, you heard her. That's who she is. That's what she wants to do. But Christy Sides was more likely to get ignored, I should say, by Caitlin Clark in some ways, and more likely, and we saw it happen, to give up the keys. Where I just get this Stephanie White seems like she has too much of an ego that she's going to fit this into her vision of an offense. And it's frustrating to hear. It's almost like, well, when Caitlin Clark is well guarded, you just like I just said, we're not gonna dictate to that team. We're gonna just give up before they even effectively shut us down. We're just gonna give up the ball. We're gonna take it out of Caitlin's hands. We're gonna let other people bring it up. We're gonna play Caitlin off the ball and let her set screens. It's insane. It makes absolutely no sense at all. It's like this is someone who's never watched Caitlin Clark play. Again, she's generational, Steph. You said that yourself. Let her be that. Because even if they try and take things away, we saw last year she was the most blitzed player in the league, and she still was all first team WNBA and fourth in MVP voting. All these other teams want the ball out of her hands. Do you understand? That is the defensive scheme, is to shut down Caitlin Clark and get the ball out of her hands as quickly as possible. And Stephanie White wants to do it for them. I don't get that. No team ever tries to take away their own players' strengths in a preemptive mea culpa. It is bizarre. When has Caitlin Clark ever demonstrated that she can be completely shut down? She's too good as a passer. Right? Do you understand? Caitlin Clark, if a team can be that effective, Caitlin Clark will happily score 10 points and dish out 23 assists and win the game. You can't you can't shut down both. That's the thing. She's so good offensively with the ball and as a shooter, and the fact that she has the logo three and all that range, and then you have to come out and get her, which opens up a lot of court. She's so good in all of that that if you want to completely shut her down as a scorer, she will destroy you. She will pick you apart as a passer, and she will set game after game. She will set more assist records. So anyway, I don't want to let this get too long. I want to talk about that. I touched on it yesterday, but I had some more thoughts. And so here's the thing. Here's what I'm looking for in this game against the Liberty. It's unfortunately they get the Liberty in Caitlin Clark's first game back. But look, how is Caitlin Clark moving? Okay, how explosive is she? Because it may take a game or two to get that back. But I want to look at how she is moving. Is she favoring it? Is she actually less than 100%? What type of offense are they running? Is it Clark's or is it White's? Who's bringing up the ball? Who are they looking for as soon as they get a defensive rebound? Is it to put it in Caitlin Clark hand and run, or are they looking to give it to someone else and get the ball up court and put Caitlin Clark off ball and have her set picks off the ball, which is probably where she got her leg hurt in the first place. So is Caitlin bringing up the ball a lot? If she is, are they running? Are they trying to run? Are they running the pick and roll? If she's bringing the ball up and getting rid of it right away to maybe not Aaliyah Boston, are they running anything to get it back into Caitlin Clark's hands for a shot? Are they running off of the pick and roll? Or are they running actions with Kelsey Mitchell or Lexi Hull to get them the ball in a position to shoot? Things like that are kind of what I'm looking for, as opposed to someone else is bringing it up and Caitlin Clark is setting screens off the ball with no intention of her getting the ball back. But it's going to be interesting to see. It is an afternoon game. Thank you. I'm so thankful for that being on the East Coast. So I will, of course, do a post game as well. Hope you tune in for that as well. But let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. Appreciate you so much checking out this video. As always, go have the day you deserve, and I will talk to you later.